Good morning, team. Today we'll install motion sensors onto the Berg panel. This is the burglar panel. This is the motion sensors. Honeywell IS335. So this particular device takes a 4-strand wire. And as you can see, the device comes in the box with the wire already wired for the inside of the device. Simple, small device. And for stripping the wire, you can use your scissors or your strippers, which are made to strip wire, so this would be ideal. So, of course, the wire is too long, but I'm just going to give you an example of how the wire should look when you are ready to install it to the panel. And as you can see, 4-stranded wire. So that cut of wire should be fine. If you need more copper showing or exposed, then you can expose more. It's to your discrepancy. Okay, team, so this is the inside of the device, right? So as you can see, the colors are already lined up inside where you need them to be. And I'm showing you this so you can understand to do the same thing you're doing here on the panel. Now, in here are the terminals of the panel. So you read your work order and follow the instructions on what zones they want you to have your wiring on. But as you can see, they show you the color code and then they show you letters to where you place your wire. So you follow the same pattern on the panel. Okay? So what we'll do, since we have so much excess wire, and we want to keep the excess wire for the team in case you need it in the future. So we'll start by installing the device itself wherever the work order tells you it should be installed. So that's where we're going to go now. Okay, and one thing, team, this is very important. You have to read your work order thoroughly and make sure that you have your deliverables covered. So from start to finish, check your deliverables. And in your deliverables, there's always photos that need to be taken. Make sure you read them step by step and take those perspective photos for those deliverables. So on this particular device, there's punch out holes that are not yet punched out. So you have one here, 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 and two more. And they have one screw that they provided you with. How ironic is that? So since we have a lightweight device, I personally think that the one screw that they provide would be enough. So as you can see this top hole here, I think I'll use that. Now it's up to you. If you feel that this screw is not enough, you should have extra screws with you. Just always buy you some screws, or when you do a job you have extra screws, keep them because they come in handy. But this one is what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use this spot here. And as you can see, I stick my screwdriver in there, and that easy, it's open hole. So what I'm going to do is start my screw from the inside of this device. That way, when it's on the wall, I'm screwing my screw externally from the inside to the wall. So, like that. And since this is such a small screw, small device, drywall, you can actually just use a screwdriver. You don't need a drill or anything. You just do it just like that. So now I'm gonna go to my placement and I'm gonna show you firsthand. All right, so the placement of the motion sensor should be within 50 feet of the panel. So the panel is over to my left. You can't see it now, but I showed you earlier. And I'll show you again as we go along. So basically all I'm doing now, and this is one thing to do, you can do like me, or if you have a big enough vehicle, I advise you buy yourself a ladder, take it everywhere you go, because that's money. And now, if not, most places we service has ladders. This place has 3 of them, or they have different various heights. So I'm using the ladder. I'm going to place this motion sensor on the wall here. As I do that, I'm looking to where my cable will run as far as the cable path. And as you can see, this is a drop ceiling. And so basically, after I hook this sensor to the wall, you'll see me move the ceiling. Since it's such a short run to the panel, you'll see me toss the access cable over to the opening that I already have above the panel. So sometimes you're not going to have all of the stuff that you need provided for you. So that's why the best thing to do is always buy you a pack of screws. Take those with you, because this tiny screw they gave us will not even come through the device to touch the wall. And I'm going to give you an example of why this is the wrong screw. As you can see, you cannot even see the screw. So, no fret, we got screws in the back.
going just like me, it's okay if you move a little too fast and I move too fast. But I didn't tell guys that when I threw my cable over so I could bring it down to the pin, I wasn't supposed to put the motion detector, the motion sensor on the wall yet, because I still have to feed it over the ceiling and come down the hole where I see they already have the cable coming down. So I'll do that now.
Okay, I know you could probably see that my ladder is rather far from the wall. This is not safe. I shouldn't be doing this. I should have moved the desk out of the way, got the ladder closer. So I advise you to do so, because this actually makes your job harder the way I'm doing it. So in the future, for you guys, get the ladder close to the wall as possible. Be safe and effective. So we just basically put the motion sensor, ran the wire. The wire is running across the ceiling on top of the drop sill. And then in a few seconds, you'll see me pull the wire down, dress it neatly, and plug into the burglar alarm panel. So at this moment, I'm going to put the casing, the front casing, onto the sensor. It's just a snap situation, so you can see it's a top lip here and the bottom two teeth there. And yeah, fairly it. You just slide these two teeth down into the device and then snap in the top. Now also what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a few zip ties, tighten up my wires so it be neat and real pretty. That's how we like to do it a lot for now. always want to, fix what we moved and put everything back in place. Um, Clean off your work area. If it wasn't there when you got there, it shouldn't be there when you leave. You do that for the temporary situations, and you sweep later. Other than something like that. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see, I dug up in the ceiling, pulled out my wire. Remember we tossed the wire from over there? So over here where we had the ceiling open already, because we know the panel was right here. So we opened this tile just for that reason, so we can toss the wire over and it'll come right to this opening, and then we can feed it down. So what you want to do is you want to strategically put your wire around the drop ceiling so that it'll be ready to drop down when you put the ceiling back in place. So if you made a mess up here, fix it before you get down. That way you can close the ceiling up and get on with your business. Is tightening up the wire so that way it's nice and neat. And when we complete this run, it will be down into the panel with the wire adjacent to this conduit. And if you didn't know, this is conduit, this metal pipe. Normally cables or wires are ran through it, but you can also run it externally like we're doing today. So what you see me doing now is called the dry run. So without me cutting the cable and running it, I just run it out to approximately what I would use so I can cut it and then feed it through the panel hole or punch out. So after you run your wire down, you keep it neat, then you just dry run it like so that way you can see how much length you need. Then you bring it over again, then you can cut it to where you know you have enough to give you room to work with the wire. And actually it looks like I didn't cut it long enough, so don't be like me. Give yourself extra slack. So actually, I realized that I have a hole right here, and this would be sufficient enough to give me the slack I need. So it actually works out even better. So now, before we touch anything or wire anything up, what we'll do is unplug the battery leads from the battery, and in turn, that will will cut the power. Also, there's normally a transformer hooked up, and these transformers for the burglar panel are an adapter type transformer. So also what you do is trace it to see where it's plugged in on the panel, and it's right there. But the easier way and the safer way to me is leaving that where it is so you never get it confused, and you just unplug it from the wall. Now, another thing about these transformers, they have a screw inside the circuit. So you want to unscrew that first. Voila. No more power. Okay, so you know you have to strip your wire. I use the second from the bottom. You pull that off. Well, I showed y'all this already, but it's always good to show things a few times. Then I use the top one to give me some copper exposed from each color. Okay, so it's a process to finding out where this goes. Read your work order, see what it says. Don't go by what you see me doing, because you don't know if your work order is different from what I'm doing. So you have to read your work order in detail. Now, for this specific work order, it says that I'm using Z7 and what else?
Terminals 18 and 19.
And terminals 18 and 19. You can cut it. Okay, so we're going into 18 and 19 on these terminals. And how you know which ones are 18 and 19? Because this goes from 1 to 25. So if you count backwards, you'll find your targets. These is 5 terminals. So I know if I minus 5, I have 20. Then I go 19. That's one of my targets. Then I have 18 as my other target. So it actually says ground. And if you look over here, everything is labeled 1 through 25. And we're going in 19 and 18. And you can see ground for 19. So you know ground is always green. And that's green. And that's 19 ground. And then 18 will be yellow. It doesn't show yellow, but it says Z7. And as you see on the box, on the sensor itself, yellow is in Z7. So that's how you figure that out as well. And there's no power in this device, in this panel anywhere, so you're safe. That's why we took out the transformer and the battery leads. And earlier also, when I was using this flashlight, or I was unscrewing something, the light came on from my flashlight, and it may have looked like a spark. It wasn't a spark, don't worry. It was just a flashlight on this screwdriver. Also underneath here, it's labeled Z7 and ground. So that way you won't even go wrong. And it doesn't hurt to always double, triple check. So ground is in, and that's 19. And then we're going into Z7, which is 18, with the yellow cable. And the yellow cable is for communication, correct?
With yellow or white.
And sometimes the yellow may be substituted for white. Now we know that red and black are power. Red is positive, black is negative. So now for these two, the power, they need to be in terminal 4 and 5. So as you can see, I don't have enough slack for it to reach over there well. So you can easily just use your cable to stretch out the casing of the other cable to buy yourself more slack. And then voila. And for the access, you use your scissors or your wire cutters. Make sure you don't cut the wire, and you're in the world of trouble. Gotta start fresh. So as you can see, they already have red and 5. But also, if you can get past seeing their wires, it should be labeled under there. And it says ox, and that's red, that's the power, negative, positive. And black says, it says ground. Number 4 says ground, but in our case, we're using it for the black. So now in this case, you can see they have a lot of wires already in this terminal. So you want to make sure the stuff that's in there before you is still in there well. But that's the complete finished product. You can also make your wire neater however you choose. But as you can see, this is how I do. Put a zip tie or a piece of tape on there. Or the wire is so strong, it might stay just like that. And you may need a picture of that finished product as one of your deliverables. So we won't plug it up yet because we only installed one, and in this store we're installing two sensors, motion sensors. So we'll still leave the power off, and we'll go over to the next room and install the next device. It's probably screws on site somewhere. Pack of screws right in the panel. But still get your own screws just in case. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do now is toss this other wire from here where we're gonna have the device at, and get it over to the other side because the room is all the way over there. Now, what I try to, no, I don't try anything. What I do is use the simplest way to get the best results. So I'm gonna go up where the ceiling opens right here, toss my cable over, then I'm gonna run it over to right above these, in between these two lights, and attach it right there on the wall. That way I just have a little bit of cable coming out, and I choose to use my white cable in this room because this room is more of a common room, maybe. You know, I'm just using my best judgment. Instead of that bright orange cable, I put that back there. Oh, here goes nothing. So basically what I'm doing now is I came back to the main space where the panel is. So that from the other room, from the other motion sensor, I can throw the cable over this way and it'll come to this hole. And since I opened the tile already, the ceiling tile, from the other side I should be able to see the light. It's just a little technique to get us through this quickly, smooth. So let's go. So I'm just securing the cable now so it'll be in a knot and nice and tight so it can still have weight to it when I toss it over the ceiling and then to the next room. And you see I gave it a little slack so that way I don't pull the motion with it through the cable. You guys can't see up here, but now I can see that the ceiling is open and the light is exposed. And then I do my jump shot. I'm not happy with it, but it's close enough. Maybe on the other side. When you're doing this work also, as you can notice there's a lot of stuff everywhere, feel free to move stuff out your way. That way you can be safe and you can be more effective. You can get to your task easier. And, you know, just put stuff back where you got it, but feel free to get stuff out your way. So now, as you can see, I climbed up here and I got my bundle of cable. Now, I couldn't reach it at first. So what I did was, I used my resources. I seen this little hanger type thingy, and I reached this thing over into the ceiling and fished my cable and pulled it to where I can grab it. And now we have it. So it wasn't as accessible as I thought for me to get it through the hole that I opened up, but that hole did guide me to this side of the room. So what I did first was just get it where I can access the ceiling and be able to grab it, and now I can easily put it over here. So you just keep doing that basically until you get to the position you want to be at. And then so you don't do double work, if you open the ceiling, you might as well put it back while you're there. Position your ladder any chance you get so you can be where you need to be. Oh, and I wanted to show you guys this. Whenever you're dealing with these panels, you can easily pull the door off, like so. So you can maneuver better instead of that keep hitting you and getting in the way. And you put it back when you finish. So now what we do now is run this wire down as a dry run, like how we did the orange one. Get it to the length we need, then cut it. So that way we can easily fish it through stuff like this zip tie that's already existing, and through the hole that's there, strip it, wire it up. Now, since you're basically done with your ladder, you can get it out your way so you can maneuver a little better. So again, we strip our wire. I always use and since we did the orange one, I remember that I needed more length on the actual wire. So I can just like basically measure it and line it up with the orange wire to know where I'm gonna start stripping this one at. Okay, and for this one, we are using Z8, and on the terminal, we are using 19 and 20. So we know from last time, Z7, there's my flashlight, and my screwdriver. Bear with me for one moment while I locate my screwdriver and try to keep your tools close to you so you won't be like me right now, running up time. Okay, so on this particular sensor, motion sensor, the wiring was the exception to the rule that I told you about on the first one. So the first one, zone 7, took a yellow wire because that cable had a yellow wire. Now on this cable it has a white wire, which is the same thing. Yellow and white coexist. So you can use white or yellow, but they go in the same area. And this is the zone cable. So this is going in zone 8 for this device that we put in the back of the stock room. And zone 8 is on 20. And remember, you can count backwards, so you know this is 5, then it separates. So you minus 5 from 25, you have 20. Then 19 is your green, which is ground. Remember, green, ground. And they had a resistor there in 19 and 20. And a resistor just makes the system think a wire is plugged up so that it won't signal an alarm. But since we have wires in it now, we don't need the resistor. But always keep these resistors. Don't ever throw them away. And that beeping you guys hear, that's the UPS, the backup battery system for their Verizon phone system. So in a future video, we'll learn about a UPS device because we install and deinstall those as well. But don't get worried because that got nothing to do with what we're doing. And now we have our red and black, which is positive and negative. So these are going into terminal 4 and terminal 5. And fortunately for us on this one, they already have wires in 4 and 5. So that would even give you a sense of direction on which color goes in which. And sometimes you may have too much copper exposed. Just snip it off. That way it can go in easier and you don't have to worry about messing up the other wires that's already in that terminal. These people have a wire loose in 3. So we'll go ahead and fix that. So now black goes in 4. So at the end, we'll tighten up these cables a bit more. But for now, we'll go ahead, plug up our system, power it back up, and take it from there. See how our stuff come on, light up, and operate. Then we'll do a few test walks. So that's just basically walking past the sensors and things like that, seeing them light up when the presence is there. So we had a brief alarm. That's because we powered the system back up.
Code changes, verifications, emergency contact list, job status.
So now we take a photo of the finished work. Everything's plugged up. Now we call support, let them know what zones we plugged into so they can register it on their end. And then you have a complete product and project. Thank you. And don't forget to put your door on your panel if you removed it. And I'll let you see how I do that as well. Sometimes these tabs may be bent, so you just make sure you fix them even if you didn't do it. Photo.